Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we have a really fun card, and I'm going to call this one Easy Inking because stunning results, but so easy. So we don't need many things to start off today, and even if you don't have some of these, you could replace them with just scissors. So I have some acetate. This is the Hero Arts acetate. It is great for die cutting. It literally says it works well with metal dies on the front. And I'm going to take one sheet of this, and this is going to be my stencil material. If you don't want this to be permanent and reuse it, then you could just use normal cardstock. Even that you could end up reusing too. I'm using the stitched Hillside borders from Fawn. I have had these for years and they are still available and still a great investment. Now I am going to use a little bit of mint tape just to keep this in place as I run this through my die cutting machine and create my own stencil. Now as I said earlier, you could definitely just cut this with scissors. You could just cut a kind of gentle slope, you could cut, zigzags, you could cut anything. You could cut anything that you fancy or any kind of dies that you have if you want to use dies. Now mine didn't quite go all the way to the edge. I kind of gave it a rip and then cut the edge a little bit nice and smooth. But we want to use both pieces, so keep them both nice. And then this is going to be as simple as inking up little individual spaces. So I am going to pop a sheet in the background, a scrap sheet, just to catch any ink. I have got my mint tape there, which is a low tack tape, the perfect low tack tape. And I'm going to be using this three here. There is Tumbled Glass, Salty Ocean, and then the top one is the Uncharted Mariner, which is the new one. I just don't have a label on it. And then in a little bit, I'm also actually going to bring in Chipped Sapphire. But nonetheless, I have the three colors to start off with. I have my domed foam blending, and I'm also using some removable or temporary adhesive from that Tombow green adhesive roller. And this is going to be put on the back of my acetate to help hold things in place. Now the top one I kind of have popped down some mint tape, but the bottom one I am just really holding it with my hand, adding some ink. I'm not doing any blending, anything fancy, just adding ink. Then I move the top stencil down so that it covers the ink that we've just popped on. And because obviously it has the same curved line because we die cut it, it is so easy. It just pops right over top. Then I pop everything down a little bit, and I am just angling this so that there is kind of a nice bigger sweeping wave that's kind of heading down to the bottom right hand corner. Of course, you could have this going in any direction. You could have this as a rainbow. You could have this as just any sort of ombre like I'm doing. Yellows, oranges, reds, I think would look absolutely stunning. You could use this for a baby card and use some pinks or some blues or greens or yellows, whatever you are needing for a specific occasion. So this is where I decided to bring in the Chipped Sapphire color, which is just a little bit darker. I like 3 colors, but I think 4 is the perfect matching number here for me. And then how easy was that inking? And the results, I think, are the start of a really stunning card. So this time I decided to lift the colors a little bit so it kind of started further up and finished a little bit further up as well. So you can obviously go any which way across the card. Your options here are completely unlimited, and I love that about this technique, about easy inking. I think this is how easy inking should be. There is no blending. It's just popping color down with a homemade stencil, and I love the results. But I do want to finish both of these cards off for you just to give you a couple of really simple options. I am going to cut these down. I start all of these as 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And because I pop them on my card base, which is also the same size, I like to have some sort of border. Now today I decided to go a little bit different. Just for something a little bit different, just to kind of keep it fresh and change it up. So I'm going to keep my borders a little bit different today, but of course you could pop them straight in the middle and that would be great too. Now I have checked on Amazon and I have found some of these stamping platforms available. I will keep trying to find some links for you, but there is links down below to absolutely everything that is still available in this video. Those stitched Hillside borders are perfect and they are available in a few different places. This one is the Leaf Canopy stamp set, one of my all-time favorites, and I'm using my stamping platform lid to curve this gorgeous long sentiment, and this is going to go along the wave of my inking. So this couldn't be easier. Now I decided to stamp this in some VersaFine Onyx black ink. This is a beautiful crisp stamping black pigment ink, and this ink never fails. There is a reason why many card makers use this ink as their sentiment stamps, and if I am using my stamping platform, this gives me the ability to curve the sentiment just perfectly and also re-ink and re-stamp if need be. Now these two cards are very similar. They just have the inking in slightly different places, so I thought I would still show you both of them even though I kind of speed it up a little bit. This is the Flower Picking Friends stamp set, and I just want to show you that even if you don't have one long sentiment that can go right along that wave, you can use a couple, pop them together, and still shape them beautifully. So all I do is kind of pop the sentiment where I want the start of the wave to go, and then I adjust the end of the sentiment so it curves in the place that I need it to curve to follow my inking. Of course, this is going to change depending on the curve that you have for your inking. And this doesn't damage the stamps at all. This is perfectly fine, and in fact it just stretches the uses that we are able to use them for. So this one says, just for you on your birthday. I quite like that these ones have different size fonts, some bigger, some smaller. Now this one here I'm going to keep pretty plain, but I am going to pop this in the top right hand corner so that there is actually a little border, and the reason I chose the top right is so that you can see the inking leaves a border on the left and the bottom, so that's where the ink falls, so that's why I chose to pop it up in the top right. I am not very good at waiting for my pigment ink to dry, and that's why I usually just pop a piece of paper down before I will press down nice and evenly on the card to get the glue to attach beautifully, so that way I know I'm not going to smudge any of my ink. Now for this one here, I decided to actually give it a bit of a border, but I'm only going to do 2 edges. Now I have taken some mint tape, and I am going to use some of the darkest color, the chipped sapphire, and I'm going to pop this to create a border on 2 of the edges. This is just stepping it up just a tiny little bit, and in this way, because of where I'm going to pop this on my next card base, you'll see that this also creates a nice sharp little border just in from the outside edge. So you could also use a matting layer if you wanted to. I just really like inking up the edges because I find that it is one less layer of cardstock. It makes the card lighter, less bulk, and I think I like that in my card making style, but either is perfectly fine. Once I add some liquid glue, this is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. I am going to pop this down in the bottom left hand corner for this one, and then you can see this creates a really nice border too. So as I said, I've kept these cards really simple. There are a couple of things that we are going to do from here, and mainly this includes popping on some of these little gems. Now I must admit I have been leaning towards these ones recently because this just goes with everything, and I'm a big fan of tools in my craft space that I can multi-use, and this one goes because these are clear. These are just like little clear water droplets, and there are I think 5 different sizes in each container. I have never gone through more than 1 container. There are so many in this little pottle, and it means that I am able to just put this with any color at all. And I don't have to do color matching. I don't have to have a big stash to kind of search through and see which ones I have to go with certain different things. I absolutely love things that I can just pull out and go without having to do lots of that color matching. So after I pop a few of these on, it's just a really nice little subtle finish for these cards. Now I do play around with the placement just a little bit, but basically I pop a few down the bottom of the sentiment, a few up around the top, and then that kind of does me. These will dry perfectly crystal clear, just looking like tiny little water droplets. These are actually acrylic even though they look glass, so there is next to no weight to these at all. But I hope that you have enjoyed this easy inking today. Thank you so much for joining me. As usual, links will be down in the description box below the video. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Thanks, bye! bye.